Hey, all you GBA type people, welcome to Pivotal Moments, the show where we take you inside the matches from the Season 2 GBA D-League, break them down, and show you where the momentum changed from one player to another that ultimately decided the match. I am KantoCastBlue, and back again. Berk is still here. Tup is still in recovery, and that's okay, because we like Berk. We miss Tup. Tup, get better. But, you know what, Berk, you're doing a great job.
Why, thank you. You're doing a great job too, Blue.
Thanks. We don't hear that enough, I don't think, but that's okay.
Blue, you're doing a good job.
We're just going to trudge on. So here we are, week 6 for the GBA D-League Season 2, and the matches are getting progressively better, I think, in all honesty. There wasn't really a flop this week, which is good. I'm so happy about that. I know, right? No 6-0.
So the first match of the week, we had the New York Shelmets versus the Miami Delphinions. Delphinions brought their Uniclus, Garchomp, Fortress, Tornadus T, Doublade, and Weavile, and the Delphinions brought Vileplume, Sylveon, Mega Medicham, Archeops, Porygon 2, and Butterfree. Again, just going to say, Butterfree didn't really do much, but that's...
It's cool to see.
Yeah, but after seeing a U-turn, super effective U-turn on the Uniclus doing like 10%, you're just like... But anyway, their pivotal moment I definitely saw as the Shelmets have their Uniclus in on the Mega Medicham. He sets up a Calm Mind, and I think he sets up another Calm Mind, and that's game.
Yep.
Hardy can only wish for a Thunder Punch Paralysis, which he does not get after like 5 of them. Mega Medicham goes down, and Hardy didn't have really much for the Reuniclus if you look at the team matchups. What's the only thing with super effective stab move? That's the Butterfree, and you saw it go for a super effective stab move, and it did nothing. So that didn't work. The only thing Hardy also really had for the Uniclus was the Weavile, but then he traded it to the Shelmets, so that didn't help him either. So he sets up the Calm Minds, and Uniclus kills the next 5 things. He's down 5-3, and he gets a 3-0. Clean sweep just by setting up the Calm Minds. The only other thing I have written down, and this wasn't a turning point, I just thought this was awesome. Archeops takes down a Doublade with a Heat Wave. Doublade's supposed to wall that, and it got taken down by Heat Wave. The confusion on Gassy's face was it's hilarious. But not a turning point, I just want to mention that because it was awesome.
That was an exciting moment. It was. Yeah, I had pretty much the same thing on my notes as well. I have fishing for Thunder Punch Paras. Reuniclus sets up a gross amount of Calm Minds. GG. So.
No, yeah, I think this match definitely had the most distinct turning point. Like, the Shelmets were down. They were 5-3 down. They weren't doing too well. And then sends the Reuniclus, and just, that was it. Game done. So, I mean, that was a very distinct turning point, much more so than the rest of the games this week.
Agreed. And as a side note, Hardy, I don't know if you watched this, but Medicham does not get knockoff. So you did not mess up.
If it got knockoff, that thing... that'd be so deadly.
That would be broken, almost, I dare say.
Huge power knockoff from a Mega Medicham. Bulky Psychic types beware. But it doesn't, so.
Yeah. The meta is saved. Thank goodness. Moving on into the next game of Week 6, we have the Stantlers versus the Blaziken. The Stantlers brought Scizor, Regirock, Infernape, Florges, Latias, and Mega Sableye. The Blaziken have Miltank, which I love seeing. I got super hyped when I saw that. Lucario, Mamoswine, Alakazam, Hydreigon, and Manectric. So, I feel like this one had a pretty distinct point where the match turned, and it was about 25-ish minutes in. Ellie goes for a Will-O-Wisp onto a Swords Dancing Lucario. The Will-O-Wisp connects. Lucario then next turn goes for an Iron Tail. Mega Sableye lives the Iron Tail, gets off a Dark Pulse that does enough damage to the point where it's going to stop a potential Lucario sweep, which honestly would have won Nick the match. But next turn, Lucario's got to go for another attack. It takes Life Orb Recoil and then more burn damage, and it goes down, as does Mega Sableye. But that kind of leaves Scizor free to come in against Nick's Alakazam, which is all he had left at that point. Pop a Bullet Punch off, and it's game over. Had that Will-O-Wisp missed, maybe, or, if the Iron Tail had KO'd, the damage wouldn't have been on Lucario to the point where it would have gotten knocked out so quickly. But I do believe that Infernape was carrying Vacuum Wave, I think Ellie said.
Yeah, I mean, that it might have. I don't think it really mattered because the Lucario also had Extreme Speed, which out prioritizes Vacuum Wave anyway. So Infernape's defenses are kind of paper thin.
Valid.
So granted, it was burned, but it did set up like 2 Swords Dances or something, 3 Swords Dances. It set up a lot of Swords Dances. It's at a good amount even burned. I don't know if the Sableye died, maybe we'd be looking at a different match. But Sableye pulled through and double KO'd the Lucario, which that thing is so dangerous when it sets up a Swords Dance.
Right?
Absolutely terrifying. But I also had a little bit earlier letting the Hydreigon go down to a Bullet Punch. I don't know if he felt like he didn't need the Hydreigon. I felt like he should have just sacked off the Alakazam, because the Hydreigon, I think it was Scarfed, so it would have at least been able to take on the Latias. It can deal with the Mega Sableye. Yeah, the Infernape can go for a Mach Punch, but it's not going to live a Draco Meteor. I felt like that put on a lot of pressure, and the Alakazam was almost dead. It was going to die to any priority that the Stantlers had, and the Stantlers had Infernape with Vacuum Wave or Mach Punch, I don't remember which, and then Scizor with Bullet Punch. I don't think it was going to do that much, and at the end you saw it just died. So I see that as maybe not a turning point, but just another important point along the battle where he was starting to let things go, and then he almost brought it back, but then the Lucario gets burned. So, and one thing I want to mention, just like the Archeops going for Heat Wave on a Doublade, Sub-Focus Punch Miltank. Sub-Focus Punch Miltank.
I was so hoping you'd say something about that.
I loved it. I love these awesome sets. But I said something about, Special Mega Man Cham last week. I'm going to say stuff about the awesome sets this week. All right. Sub-Focus Punch Miltank. Did it do anything this week? No. It died. But it was still cool to see anyway. So.
Agreed.
But that's all I have for the Stantlers versus the Blazikens. Moving on, we have the Gastros versus the Staraptors. The Gastros brought Mega Aerodactyl, Suicune, Cobalion, Raikou, Mew, and Nidoqueen. And the Staraptors brought Salamence, Clefable, Yanmega, Jolteon, Registeel, and Crocodile. This also kind of had a distinct turning point. The match didn't finish because of a timeout, because at the end, the Gastros had timer installed to try to preserve differential, which some people might say that's kind of you should just take the loss. But in a league where differential matters, I commend him for doing so, because he actually did successfully save himself from going from a 4-3 to a 4-0. So the turning point happened to be just a string of bad luck for the Gastros. And I felt bad watching this just because it's happened to me before too. Just a string of hacks, basically. He switches into Suicune. He knows it can live 2 outrages at the health it was at. It looked like it might have been able to. Goes for the outrage. It lives it with 71 HP. The Salamence goes for the second outrage and crits the Suicune. The Salamence then gets confused because he only got a 2-turn outrage. The Gastros switch in their Mega Aerodactyl, goes for the Stone Edge, misses the Stone Edge. The Salamence breaks through the confusion and kills the Mega Aerodactyl. At that point, there was nothing the Gastros could do to take down the Salamence. Mew couldn't take it down. Nidoqueen was already down. Cobalion can't take it down. And Raikou, I don't think, had HPX. So he has no way to take down the Salamence. If this did go on until completion, I felt like the Staraptors would have just kept in their Salamence and swept up at that point. So that to me was just a distinct point in which I think the momentum just completely shifted in the Staraptors' favor. And had there not been a timer, I think the Staraptors would have gotten away with probably a 4-0.
Yeah, we've all been there, right? The dreaded crit miss, 2-turn back-to-back. I've been there.
Oh, man. I have so many stories from Showdown that I could say. But I'll save all of you the time.
Mike, don't get down on yourself. It happens. Generally when we talk about bad luck or hacks happening, it's either Mike or Hardy, I feel like, that get the brunt of the hacks, at least for this season. I feel like it's been them most of the time. But, I had exactly the same thing. And it was smart to preserve differential like that. On the Gastro side. Granted, the Staraptors coach had places to be, but good on him for sticking it out to the bitter end. Commendable. But yeah, that's rough. That's right. It is called Stone Miss for a reason. Willow Miss and Stone Miss, I think.
And Focus Miss.
And Focus.
Never forget Focus Miss.
Why do these moves exist? I'm just curious.
Also, I've been burned by High Jump Miss too, so that's a thing too.
All the miss moves. All of the miss moves. That said, let's get right on into the last battle for Week 6, and it's a good one. It's a good one. We saved the best for last. Not playing favorites, but just saying. It is the Bills versus the Arcaniners. The Bills brought Azelf, Excadrill, Crobat, Exploud, Hippowdon, and Mega Manectric. The Arcaniners had Landorus, Goodra, Seismitoad, Shaman, Mega Scizor, and Hitmonlee. And before any of you start asking questions, no, Excadrill did not get the Sand Rush. That didn't happen again. I know Berk's very excited about that. But there was a very calculated series of plays this entire match that more or less set up the Crobat on the Bills side. First off, which Berk and I had talked about early in the pregame talk here, fourth wall being broken, Seismitoad going down early to the Exploud, getting rid of the Stealth Rock potential, which would normally prevent Crobat from switching in and doing its thing. That got taken out by like turn 2, I believe. Turn 12 pops around, and Exploud goes for an Outrage onto Goodra. Now, it didn't KO, but it did put Goodra within Brave Bird range, which is really all you need. And then towards the very near end of the battle, turn 20, Excadrill gets an EQ onto an incoming Scizor, which takes it out. I believe at that point, Scizor might have lived a Brave Bird. It's tough to say, but once the Scizor definitely went down and once the Goodra was within range, there was honestly nothing really stopping the Crobat sweep with the Brave Bird, which the only other thing would have been the Scarf Shaman with the Psychic. Turns out Crobat did take one. It lived it anyway, so, you know, it is what it is. The Crobat sweep was inevitable, and good on Will for just calculating the entire thing. He's a very methodical player, the Bills coach, but once he set up turns for the Brave Bird sweep, it was a good game.
Yeah, that's what I also have. He wore down everything to then just kill everything with Brave Bird. And Will, thank you for listening to me. You did not get the Excadrill sweep. Do that 2 more weeks, and then if you make the playoffs and everything else, just keep that up, and my bold prediction will be right. So I was happy when I saw no Excadrill sweep. Not much to say about that. But yeah, Outrage on the Exploud I think was really big. I think Septile MC, coach of the San Francisco Arcaniners, he said he had a AV Goodra, right? I'm pretty sure it was AV Goodra, and he was confused as to why he went for Outrage instead of Boom Burst. He said his calculations, they did about the same amount. I did my own damage calcs, but I don't know the Goodra set exactly. And Outrage did like 57%, which you saw it actually do to the Goodra, whereas Boom Burst does, like, without the choice specs, like 25%. So good on him for bringing that at Outrage. I don't think it's something you're really going to predict, because Exploud gets a very large move pool, much larger than people think it does, both physically and specially. Mm-hmm. And he just pulls out Outrage Exploud, and I saw that, my jaw dropped. I'm just like, wait, first I'm like, that's awesome, and then I'm like, wait a second, it gets Outrage? So once that happened, it was in range. The Scizor, I don't know at what point it would have died to a Brave Bird, but once it was down from the Earthquake, then you don't have to worry about it. It's dead already. So the Crobat sweep was just, very inevitable. It was going to happen. And then valiantly, Crobat lives a Psychic, and then Brave Bird is the Shaman to die itself. So it was only a 1-0, and it was one of those matchups we were really looking forward to. Great match.
Absolutely. And just a quick recap of the scores. The Shelmets get a 3-0 win over the Dolphinians. The Blaziken lose 2-0 to the Stantlers. The Staraptors pick up a 4-3 victory over the Gastros that went down to timer. And as Berk just said, the Bills pick up a 1-0 win over the Arcaniners. And playoffs are getting close. They are looming.
Only 2 weeks away.
They are looming. These matches matter. Are there any clear frontrunners yet?
As far as I can tell, in the Crystal Division, it's the Stantlers, Staraptors, Blazekins, Gastros. Stantlers have a pretty clear. They're only 1 ahead, but they have a pretty clear differential lead. So there's that, and then the Arcaniners and the Shelmets are tied. The Arcaniners have a bigger differential, and if the Arcaniners win next week, I think they've locked up the playoff spot. So we'll see. It's gonna be very it's very close on both ends. So these last 2 weeks are gonna be very, very important.
Yeah, definitely looking forward to that. But that is it for Week 6 Pivotal Moments. Did we miss any? Let us know what your pivotal moments from the Week 6 GBA D-League Season 2 matches were. And, if you're inclined, feel free to let us know who you want to see in the playoffs for the GBA D-League Season 2. It's going to happen, and it's coming soon. Get your predictions in now so you can be right.
I already got my prediction, and so far it's been right.
Berk's ahead of the game. Just making that known. Anyway, that's going to wrap it for this week. Hope you guys enjoyed. As always, I am KantoCastBlue.
And I'm Berk.
And we will catch you next time.
Later.